learn הלוך in הלכות הבחירה.
Okay, so the beginning of Hillchos Abchira, the mitzvah of building a Beis Hamikdash, a house for Hashem, the Rambam in Sefer Yad says twice. One place he is the Hillchos Abchira, we're all learning, and he brings the other places in Hilchos Malachim, and he brings a different source from the Torah, where we know the mitzvah from. The source in Hilchos Abchira is from Vasuli Migdash V'Shachanti B'Seichon, and in Hilchos Malachim the mitzvah, the proof, the pasuk is from Dvarim, and in Parshas Re'eh it says L'Shichne Siddur Shu V'Asa Shama. The obvious question is, why does the Rambam choose a different pasuk for the same mitzvah in Hilchos Malachim? So the Lachem Mishnah gives the answer. He says that it's talking about two different Mishkanos. The Vasili Migdash is talking about Mishkan HaMidbar, the one that Moshe Rabbeinu made. The Shechne Siddurshu is talking about Mishkan Shilai after they came to Eretz Yisrael. And since they are both a mitzvah from Hashem, so certainly the Beis Abchira, the Beis HaMikdash, is also a mitzvah. So the Rebbe asks a question, when the Rambam is bringing Beis Abchira, the mitzvah, to build a house for Hashem, we're not talking about something that happened only one time. By Moshe Rabbeinu, we're talking about the mitzvah Tmidis of building a house for Hashem. It refers also to the Beis HaMikdash. So why would the Rambam bring a pasuk that's only talking about the Mishkan in that Moshe Rabbeinu made? So, so he brings down you could say that we have another question. There's another question. A couple psukim later in Parshas Re'eh, there's a pasuk that clearly is talking about the Beis Hamikdash. It says, there's a V'haya hamakom asher yivcha Hashem lekecha boi l'shakin shmei sham. The Mepharshim all say that's talking about the Beis Hamikdash. It's not talking about any of the Mishkan, not the one in Shiloh, not even Giva, nothing. It's talking about the Beis Hamikdash itself. So the Torah clearly talks about the Beis Hamikdash. Why does the Rambam not choose to bring that pasuk at all? So it's brought down, the answer, the Kesef Mishnah says that pasuk is not really a tzivoy, the mitzvah. It's not telling us, it's not instructing them to build a Beis Hamikdash. It's just saying what will happen, and it's saying that after that once you have a king and destroy Amalek, then you'll have a Beis Hamikdash built. My question is that seemingly that's the reason why you could say that that's the reason why the Rambam brings that also in Hilchos. The L'cha'ir l'shichne siddurshu is also that kind of pasuk. The pasuk in Hilchos Malachim that he brings down is also saying what's going to happen. So the question is, why does he bring, if he's bringing already l'shichne siddurshu, why is he bringing that pasuk? Another question, the Rambam says in the next halacha a whole thing of history of what happened with the Mishkan. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu built a Mishkan in the desert 40 years and traveled with them, and they came to Eretz Yisrael with Yeshua after 7 years of conquering and 7 years of settling. Then they built a Mishkan in Shilai, and that lasted for 369 years. After that was Eli passed away. They went to Noiv. After Shmuel passed away, they went to Givain. After that was the Beis Hamikdash. The question is, why is it necessary for the Rambam to bring this whole history lesson? Rambam is not here to tell me history. Rambam is a Sefer Halachos. Tells me all my halachos. It goes through a whole history. It says exactly how many years and every detail. It doesn't say any halacha. It's not halacha. It's a history. It's So true that Rambam gets it from a Mishnah. The Mishnah, first of all, mentions the Mishnah sometimes says things that are not negei halacha. Rambam dafki is a sefer halacha. It's not necessarily the Mishnah. Number two, the Mishnah brings halachas b'negei to it. If the bama was allowed, it says when the Mishkan and Shilei, there was no bama allowed. Once it went to Nev Given, it was allowed. If some English, it wasn't allowed. Rambam doesn't bring anything of that. The reason is because that was in the past, and Rambam is not telling us halachas that were only applicable in the past. It only says halachas that were applicable now. But again, the question is, why does the Rambam have to bring the whole history? So to understand this, we have to understand why in Hilchos Malachim the Rambam brings the whole. He brings that there were three mitzvahs. In other words, Hilchos Malachim is telling us about the mitzvah of Melech, of Minui Melech. It's all about kings. So what's Faltarein, the mitzvah of Beis HaMikdash? Why does he bring that? When they came to Eretz Yisrael, they have a mitzvah of having a king, and then having Hachiz Zari Shalom Molek, and then Beis HaMikdash. What is the negei over there to bring down those three mitzvahs? Why does he say the number, that there are three mitzvahs, and then list them? You could just say the three mitzvahs, and then we could count on our own. So Eva says something very interesting. He says you can't just say that it's totally that you first have to do. You first have to have a king and then destroy Amalek and then have a Beis HaBechira, because still doesn't answer everything. Why do you need to say the number three? So Rebbe basically says that these three mitzvahs, the Rebbe says that not only in Hilchos Malachim but also in Sefer HaMitzvahs, when he says the mitzvah of Binyan Beis HaBechira, he also brings down this medrash that there are three mitzvahs that the Yidden were nestavel when they came to Beis HaMikdash. And again, the question is, why necessary? Why is the Rambam finding it necessary to always mention these three mitzvahs? The Rebbe says that will explain, the answer to that will explain everything else. The Rambam is trying to prove that these three mitzvahs are true, even though these are three separate mitzvahs in the Minyan and Tayag mitzvahs, so 613, but the shleimus of every one of them is only shalem when the other ones are done. That means that even when you have the mitzvah of Minui Melech, when you have a king, it's not a shleimus dika mitzvah until you destroy Amalek and bring the Beis HaMikdash. And conversely, if you have the mitzvah of Beis HaMikdash, it's not complete unless you have a king and destroy Amalek. Each one of them is mashlim. You have to have all three in order to have the shleimus of each one. And that's why the Rebbe shows how in every situation where there was a bias to Hashem, whenever they built a house for Hashem, there had to be some kind of these three mitzvahs involved. So even in the Mishkan, even when Moshe Rabbeinu built the Mishkan, which is a bias for Hashem at that time, there was also a king, and they destroyed Amalek. Who was the king? Moshe Rabbeinu, it says clearly, was Melech Hayam. Moshe Rabbeinu was considered a king, and you had the story where Yeshua helped that they destroyed Amalek in the desert, and then they built then they had the Mishkan over there. And also once they came to Eretz Yisrael, so it was Yeshua had the real din of a Minui Melech. Yeshua was the first one that was appointed as king. They had the Shivim Zkenim and Moshe Rabbeinu, and he had everything. Moshe Rabbeinu there was no Minui Melech, so to say, in the way the mitzvah is supposed to be done by Moshe Rabbeinu, only by Yeshua. So that was the first time he had a shleimus, a certain more level of shleimus of a Minui Melech, of a Melech, and you had that they destroyed Kav Shul Cholku, Shiva Shanim Shul Kav Shul Cholku, so they destroyed all the Goyim that were there, so gave them Menucha. That's the idea of destroying Amalek, is the idea that the Yidden should have Menucha. And then they were able to have the Mishkan. So the Rambam is dafke bringing L'Shichne Siddur Shul Vasa Shama and Hilchos Malachim to show that even before the Beis HaMikdash was built, even the Mishkan and Shiloh, when they first came, it wasn't the shlemus of it, but even then they had the 3 mitzvahs, because as soon as they came to Eretz Yisrael, they needed these 3 mitzvahs to have the shlemus of each of the other mitzvahs. They needed to have all 3 mitzvahs together. So that answers. So in the first mitzvah, in Hilchos Beis HaBechira, he brings Vasili Migdash. That's the Klolos Dika mitzvah for Beis HaMikdash, to build a house for Hashem. And you even had all those 3 things in a smaller way by the time of Moshe Rabbeinu. In Hilchos Malachim, the stress is that all 3 mitzvahs are negea to Minui Melech, and the first Melech that was Memana was Yeshua. So you show that even before the Beis HaMikdash, when there was a Minui Melech, you had all 3 mitzvahs. And that's why the Rambam finds it necessary to bring all the details from Moshe till Beis HaMikdash to show that at every stage, even in the time of Neiv and Givon, where there was no Arin, there was always a Mikdash. It's a Tzivui L'Deres, and there was always a Beis HaMikdash, and there was always the Shleimus of it with the other 2 mitzvahs. The Rebbe says, what can you take out from halacha? Something we can take out from halacha is that the Rambam says you're not allowed to make a house in the same dimensions as the Beis HaMikdash. So in certain parts of it, the Tavnis, Ulam, Chatzar, and Azara, the things that had a din of a Mikdash, so that would also apply not only to the Beis HaMikdash proper, but even to the Mishkan, Noiv and Givon and Shiloh, because they had together Mikdash, that was a continuation of it, so therefore you wouldn't be able to make those dimensions either.